Hello and welcome to Total Health with Dr. Nick, where if you're new to my channel, my purpose is very simple, and that is to inspire, empower, and motivate you to live longer, healthier, and more abundant lives. And I've got a great video for you today because this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, because I know there are so many of you out there who are struggling, who are suffering with this, and that is leaky gut syndrome. And I know there's people who believe that, hey, this doesn't really exist, there's no leaky gut syndrome, but for those of you who are suffering with this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know the pain you experience. You know the fact that you go to eat anything and it tears up your insides, whether you're bloating, whether you have diarrhea. Some of you have as much as bleeding in your stool. You know what I'm talking about. You wonder if you could eat anything. You're thinking food is your enemy in a way, and I know I need it, but food is your enemy. So if you're struggling or you're suffering with brain fog, confusion, and this is on the lighter side, and this is still stuff that people have to deal with every single day, and it is absolutely destroying your lives. If you're dealing with poor memory, bloating, you eat even the smallest morsel of food and you just bloat up and you're thinking, I look pregnant and I just had a piece of food, then you're struggling with this irritability to where your stomach is always hurting. It's affecting your mood, it's affecting your life, it's affecting your family. And then on the more serious side, you're looking at things like cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, osteoporosis, psoriasis. You're dealing with something that people can actually see. It's not even that you can hide it anymore. Now it's showing up on your skin, it's showing up on the outside, and you don't know what to do. Well, today's video is all about really how to heal this. What are the best solutions to deal and really heal with this disease that we know about called leaky gut syndrome. So if you've got this or you know anybody who does, make sure you share this to them. Make sure you watch to this to the very end. And I promise you, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn some secrets. You're going to learn some tips, some tricks, and really what's actually causing it, because this is something that'll actually destroy your life if you don't get this in control. So we're going to go ahead and get started in a moment. But first, listen. If some of you out there are trying to lose weight and trying to get in the best shape of your life, check out my keto course. It's the best one out there, and I promise you this will change your life too, because that can actually also help you with leaky gut syndrome, because we've got a fantastic diet program in there, fantastic food plan, recipe guide, all that can actually help you with this too. So it's not just about weight loss, it's about healing your gut from the inside out. So if that's something you're interested in, check the link below, see if it's a fit for you. If it is, great. Join our team, let us help you, hold your hand all the way through the process. But let's go ahead and get started with this, because this is so important. Well, what is leaky gut syndrome? Well, that is really a condition where the intestinal lining, and you have these cells that are borderline your intestinal walls that then block any food and debris and things from getting into your bloodstream. So this is your barrier. This is your barrier to protection. And really, here's a little thing that most people don't realize, is that your intestinal system, your alimentary tract, your basically from your mouth to your butt, that tube is really not inside your body. Now, I know technically it's inside your body, but it's really just a tube straight through. So think of it like taking a hot dog and poking a hole all the way through. The tube going all the way through is not really part of the hot dog. It's what gets out of the tube into the sides of the hot dog. That's what's important. So if you think of it that way, and you think of your intestinal tract as something that moves things through your body, and then things come out that are important, but hopefully nothing that's dangerous gets out, and instead it's eliminated, that's the best way to think about how you have to deal with this, because it'll teach you really what's important that you're putting into your body that you don't want leaching out into your tissue, into your bloodstream, and ultimately into your cells in your brain. So that's really what it comes down to. So leaky gut is a condition that occurs due to the gaps in the membrane lining your intestinal wall. And that's what I was just talking about. These tiny gaps allow toxic substance that should be confined to your digestive tract to escape into your bloodstream. And that's really what it comes down to. These toxins, these infections, these food particles, things like that get into your bloodstream. So what it looks like is this. So if you look at the cells of the walls of your intestine, you have these cells, and they should be very tightly kept together. They're called gap junctions, and these gap junctions have to be kept tight so that things don't get down inside them. These are your villi, and your villi are the folds in your intestine, and really what that does is it gives your intestine more surface area, kind of like the alveoli in your lungs. That gives your lungs a lot more surface area. So a human lung is about the size in surface areas of a tennis court, so there's a lot of space. Well, when you can fold the intestinal lining like this over and over and over again, you can get a lot more surface area in such a small space. Well, all these cells line there. And when they're tightly packed together, nothing can get through into your bloodstream. So you have normal conditions. Everything's working the way it's supposed to. It's not like your body is going through, DEFCON 5. Everything is working like it's supposed to. You're not on heightened alert. However, things like yeast infections, things like stress, toxins in your body, different foods, different pesticides, even organ dysfunction, pathogens, drugs, medications, candida, things like that can actually cause permeability to this intestinal wall. So what ends up happening is it's like a breach. All of a sudden now these barriers are opening up and food can get down inside there. Toxins, bacteria, medications, pathogens, things like yeast, candida, maybe bacteria that have all kinds of toxins. Those can get down inside through the wall of the intestine because now the barrier is broken. It's kind of like the levee is broken. And when the levee breaks, the water comes into the city. So all these levees are breaking, and now the food and bacteria and particles and undigested stuff, things that are not supposed to get through there, are now breaching and getting through and going right into your bloodstream. And when they do, now it starts to cause all kinds of issues where inflammatory reactions happen. Your body feels like it's being under attack, and you know that because you eat something, and next thing you know, you feel like you're in DEFCON 5, like your body's under assault, like you're thinking, wait a minute, I thought this food was my friend, instead it's attacking me right now. Autoimmune disorders start kicking in. Maybe all of a sudden your body starts attacking itself. You start to get arthritis in your joints. You start to get rheumatoid. You might even get psoriasis or eczema where your skin literally looks like it's peeling and it's erupting with sores and blisters because all this is coming to the outside. And you know what I'm talking about. In fact, if you're experiencing anything like this, let me know your comments in the bottom, maybe how it's affecting your life or how it's affecting maybe your family's life and what's going on that you're doing to maybe help it. You see, malabsorption, all of a sudden now you're not absorbing nutrients anymore because your intestinal lining is not working the way it's supposed to. So it's not absorbing the proper nutrients that you need to be healthy. Common symptoms of leaky gut, they can go from the extreme to not so extreme, but you might have things like Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis where you're actually bleeding. I've known people with ulcerative colitis to where their life is ruined. They're on all kinds of autoimmune drugs to try to block their body from attacking itself. They're bleeding, mucus, and all kinds of stuff, and they're literally having to wear diapers and things like that just to be able to walk through the mall and get around and be, socializing in life, but yet it is just absolutely horrifying and terrifying to really what their body's going through. Celiac disease, and you know what I'm talking about with that. You might have the slightest gluten intolerance. Celiac disease is that on steroids to where your body just literally goes into full-blown DEFCON 5 and has all kinds of problems where you're feeling it in your joints and your intestines and you're bloating, maybe even diarrhea, things like that. Candida, autism, it can affect because this stuff goes right through and gets past the blood-brain barrier. So it can get into the brain too. Chronic fatigue, if you're dealing with this, you know what I'm talking about. You're tired all the time. Your body is technically battling all the time. It's always under assault. It's always under fight. So you're just burning up so much energy and you're exhausted. Rheumatoid arthritis to where it's affecting your joints. There's all kinds of inflammation. Acne, you know what I'm talking about there. You're just breaking out if it's not eczema or psoriasis. Parasitic infections, food sensitivities, and that's going to be one we're going to be talking about later on. So once again, watch to the very end. Make sure you do. And hey, if you like what we're talking about, make sure you like, you share, comment, and subscribe. And if you really like what we're talking about, make sure you click that little bell notification so that way you get notified anytime I come on and do a video like this. So getting back to this, periodontal disease actually can cause problems to your teeth and gums and so on. So anyway, what do you want to eliminate? Because this is going to be probably one of the biggest factors. We're going to do two things here. We're going to talk about what you want to eliminate and then what do you want to put in, okay? Those are very important because if you don't eliminate the cause and you just start eating or taking other things, it's kind of like saying, okay, well, my car's falling apart, but I'll just put maybe a better coat of paint on it. But somehow the engine's still falling apart. So it's not going to work too well that way. You actually have to fix what's inside. That's the problem. And then the outside fixes itself. So what do you want to eliminate? Well, first off, you need to eliminate sugars in any form. If you're struggling with this, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this one. You have to stop and eliminate sugars. Now, what does that mean? It just doesn't mean cake. It just doesn't mean Snicker bars and Twinkies and Yodels and things like that. I'm talking about sugars of any kind, meaning you get away from things that are grains, rice, pasta, cereal, oatmeal. I know people say, but oatmeal's not, it's gluten-free, it's okay. It has nothing to do with that. It's a grain. When you're dealing a lot with grains, you're dealing with foods that are inflammatory to the body. And so your body doesn't work too well when you're running off of grains all the time. So, and some of you can handle it, you could do okay with it, but if you're struggling with this, first thing you need to do is get off of sugars. And I'm not just talking, like I said, your simple sugars. Your simple sugars are your white table sugar that you see in candy and cakes and other pastries. I'm talking about breads, rice, pasta, cereal, potatoes. All those sugars are going to be bad for this condition. Refined carbohydrates, those you should be off anyway. I'm talking about your things that are packaging, that have labels on it with all kinds of barcodes on it, things that are refined processed carbs are your cakes, your pastries, your pies. And you know, like I said, if you're not struggling with this, then you can have some of that from time to time. But if you are, this is a big no-no. You need to get off of all refined carbs because they are highly inflammatory, and probably the biggest thing you need to do to cure this problem is to reduce the inflammation in your body because it is like a fire down here. It's a fire in your gut is really what it is. Gluten is a protein that's inside your body, and understand this, it is not the same protein, not the same gluten as our ancestors ate. Now, I'm not talking back thousands of years ago. I'm talking about just 100 years ago, even 50 years ago. This is very different. Breads and grains are grown very differently now, and it's really changed the whole molecular structure about them, and it's not the same wheat that our ancestors ate. It's highly refined and hybridized, and as a result, it's really done a number on our system. So you know it. Get off the gluten. That's one of the biggest things I tell all my patients to do is to get off the gluten. Get off the processed foods, just like I talked about earlier. Dairy, this is another big one because you have type 1 casein cows. These kind of cows are basically a genetic mutation from the original type 2 casein cows, where those kind of cows, that casein was fine for us to use. Their bodies didn't react to it, didn't have problems with it. And so if you're in different parts of Southern Europe, you can still get a lot of that kind of, type 2 casein milk. But if you're having type 1 casein milk, that's where the problem relies. So it's not just the fact that maybe you're lactose intolerant of things like that. It's a simple fact. And that reminds me of how many of you guys have ever seen the Cat in the Hat by Mike Mars? There's one scene in it where the kids go, "Hey, Cat, do you want some milk?" He goes, "No, I don't want milk. It gums up the works." So anyway, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It literally gums up your works. So it's not so much of the fact that you're lactose intolerant, you're type 1 casein intolerant. That's the bigger issue. So get off of dairy and see how you do with that. Not to mention, there's all kinds of steroids and hormones and bovine growth hormone and antibiotics in today's dairy because the cows are just oversized. Their udders drag on the ground, and not to sound gross, but there's infections. And the USDA will allow a certain amount of infection in your milk. Alcohol, once again, that's an irritant to your intestines. You want to avoid that. Caffeine can be too. And some of you who are saying, "You know what, but I love my caffeine." Well, do you love your stomach pain more? So think about that. So if you can get off the caffeine and let it stop irritating your insides, you'll be okay. Now, for those of you who are fine with caffeine, then continue drinking it. I'm fine with caffeine. It doesn't cause me any problems. But some of you have some, and next thing you know, you're bloating and feeling terrible. You'll get brain fog from it. So maybe switch to a different type, maybe matcha green tea or something like that. Maybe coffee is just the issue, or maybe the coffee's not organic. So there's a lot of different things you can do. Antibiotics just tear up your intestines. You want to talk about something that just destroys your microbiome? You've got 10 times the amount of bacteria in your body than you do your own cells. So we're really just a bag of bacteria. We're a lot more bacteria than we are actual human cells. So when we have 75 to 100 trillion human cells, multiply that times 10, and that's how many bacteria you have in your body. So we should have roughly 85% good bacteria to about 15% bad. And typically the ones I talked about on one of my previous videos was Bacteroidetes as being the good bacteria and Firmicutes as the bad bacteria. The Bacteroidetes helps your body stay lean. The Firmicutes is the bacteria that helps your body put on weight. So you want to avoid it for that reason. So Antibiotics just destroy your intestines. That's why if you're on it, you need to be taking some really good pre and probiotics to get your intestinal flora back up to where it needs to be, because you don't digest food properly if you don't have bacteria. That's one of the purposes of it. Chlorinated water. Chlorine is bleach, right? It's bleach. You're bleaching your intestines. So if you think it's okay to drink the tap water, you're literally bleaching your intestines. Now, when you bleach your intestines, why do you think they put chlorine in water? And by the way, it's not healthy, okay? It's not healthy. Don't let them think it's so many parts per billion, it's okay. It's not. It accumulates, okay? So why do you think they chlorinate water? To kill bacteria. That's what chlorine does. It kills bacteria. So guess what? Once again, you're putting it into your stomach. It's going down through your intestines. You're destroying your microbiome. You're destroying the walls of the intestines. And you're destroying the bacteria that maintain those walls. So get off the chlorinated water. Antibacterial soaps. I tell my patients all the time, get away from these things. Stay away from those hand wipes and hand washes and hand sanitizers. You know what? You want to stay sick, because I know you're all thinking, well, but then I get sick. No, you stay sick because you're not letting your body fight anything. Let your body fight disease once in a while. Let your body fight bacteria. And you build up strength. You build up immune system muscles. So let your body fight instead of living off these antibacterial things, because that is destroying your body's flora and the bacteria that are supposed to be on your body. And of course, pesticides. Probably one of the biggest of that of all is glyphosate. And glyphosate is made by Monsanto, and they are just evil. I mean, Monsanto is not good. So Monsanto is making pesticides that are called Roundup, and Roundup is the one that basically kills everything. Well, what they're doing now so that they could just just spray crop dust their plants, is they're creating plants that are what they call Roundup ready, which means it's already got Roundup inside the seed. So that way when it grows and it's exposed to Roundup, it doesn't die from it, but yet everything else will. So they could just crop dust an entire area with this, just gas, and it'll kill everything in sight but those plants. But guess what? You're eating those now. So you're destroying your intestines by eating these plants that are raised with Roundup, which pretty much are a lot of your grains today. So another reason why not to eat your grains. So eliminate these. So obviously then, what do we need to now put into our bodies to help our intestines grow strong? Well, in order to heal a bowel and reduce inflammation, you need a pure diet. Now, once again, this is something everybody should be on, but I understand economics. I understand some people can't eat this way. They can't eat as clean, as pure as possible. But if you're struggling with ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, leaky gut syndrome, you really need to switch to this. Even if you have to eat less of it, you need to switch to this. But a pure, nutrient-dense diet. One of the things I see with people why they're putting on so much weight is because you're all eating such processed refined carbs that are just anti-nutrients and are so nutrient void of anything. They don't have any nutrients at all. So you're getting calories, but your body's going, hey, I'm starving here. I don't get all the nutrients. I don't get all the protein I need and all the vitamins and minerals. So instead, what's happening is your body is just devoid of nutrients. So you want to add in, maybe for the first time in your life, nutrient-dense foods. And by the way, you want to see a list of nutrient-dense foods, check out a video I did called the Keto-Terranean Diet. That's where I combine the Mediterranean diet and the keto diet together. I'll put the link down below so you can click on that and watch that video, because I give you food lists and food guides of all the top foods to eat for this. So you'll get all the best nutrient-dense foods just by watching that video. Organic food. Once again, we talked about the pesticides. We talked about Roundup. We talked about Monsanto. Start eating organic foods, because the pesticides will not kill the lining of your intestines. So get away from those inorganic foods. Essential fatty acids. One of the greatest reasons why the keto diet is so good, because it's so high in quality fats that it helps your intestinal linings heal up. It helps reduce inflammation. It's a very low inflammatory diet. But if you're on the standard American diet or the stupid American diet, the SAD diet, you're basically just destroying your insides. So get off of that diet, get on the keto diet. Keto diet is excellent for this, because the keto diet helps to heal the membranes, heal the intestinal walls and linings, but also too, because it's so high in healthy fats, it's very anti-inflammatory. And as I said before, you want to heal up your intestines and have a party like that's going on right here, okay, you happy bugs? You want to make sure that you're eating high quality fats so that way you can reduce the inflammation in your body. High fiber. Now that's super important too, because high fiber is what helps motility in your intestines. But what high fiber does too is high fiber is a prebiotic. It's a prebiotic in that it helps to feed the probiotics. So fiber is insoluble, and yet it helps intestinal motility. So you can get it in your vegetables, but also too, you can take something like maybe psyllium husk powder and just put it into a liquid, drink it down, but make sure you drink it pretty quickly because it will thicken up the liquid and you don't want it getting a little too thick to drink. But psyllium husk powder is really, really good. So get some psyllium husk. So once again, pre and probiotics. You know, if you're going to take a supplemental probiotic, then make sure you're getting at least 50 to say 80 billion microorganisms. Make sure you're getting plenty of it. If you're not, make sure you're eating lots of fermented foods. Make sure you're eating things like kimchi and things like kefir, things like, which is more of a fermented yogurt type of substance. Make sure you're eating yogurt, hopefully organic. And if you have a dairy intolerance, then once again, stay away from it. Make sure that you're eating things like other fermented vegetables like sauerkraut or pickles, things like that. Maybe kombucha. Kombucha is a fermented tea, but add a lot more fermented foods because fermented foods are all loaded with those probiotics, and you need that for healthy gut bacteria. Food allergens. Now, one thing we do in our office, if you're struggling with this, one thing I always recommend to my patients is you get something called an ALCAT test done. So what an ALCAT test is this. It's like this. This comes in a box, just like this. And what we do is, when you open the box, you see all kinds of things in there, requisite form so you can fill it out. But one of the things we see in here are the different test tubes. And with the different test tubes, they have different reagents in it. And the reagents react with what your blood, okay? So it reacts with your blood. And what happens is, this company is awesome because what they do is they take your blood and expose it to different foods. You could do a 150 panel or 200 panel. Most people I recommend is like 150 panel. And what ends up happening is when you do that test and you actually, rather than check your hair or just prick your skin, you're actually testing your blood against foods. I think it's a lot more accurate that way, and that way you can see what your blood is building up antigens to, or antibodies. And so you can see what your blood has an issue with. So I think the ALCAT test is the best way to go with that. And then what we do is our patients will literally box it back up, put it inside the envelope, the prepackaged envelope, and send it off to the lab. I get the results, I go over the results with them, and then I can know what they have food allergies to, because here's the problem. You may say, well, hey, broccoli's a great food, or eggs are great food, or asparagus is great, or cauliflower is great. It's so good. It's cruciferous vegetables. It's anti-cancer fighting. I've heard great things about it. But here's the problem. If you have a sulfur allergy, it's not going to work for you. I had one of my patients, Tracy, come in, and she was complaining that her lips were numb all the time. And I said, well, do you have any food allergies or allergic to anything? She goes, no. I mean, the only other thing I know I'm allergic to is sulfur drugs. And I said, really? By any chance, do you eat a lot of eggs? Oh, yeah, all the time. I eat eggs every single day. What about broccoli? Oh, I love broccoli. What about asparagus or cauliflower and cabbage, things like that? Oh, yeah, I love those vegetables. I said, well, they're all sulfur vegetables. So the problem is she was eating the things that she thought was good for her, but yet her body had an allergy to it. And many times that's the case. You'll eat something that you think is supposed to be good because we've all been told that it's good, but yet inside it's causing a time bomb and it's causing a problem. So this is a great way to find out what foods you're moderately, or I should say mildly, allergic to, or have a sensitivity to, or moderately, or severely. And we can find that out by an ALCAT test. Anyway, digestive enzymes. Go to your health food store, find out what digestive enzymes are good. You might need that to help your body along to digest, okay? Drink plenty of purified water. Once again, not chlorinated water, not tap water, but purified water. Reverse osmosis is the best. Distilled water is probably second best, so you want to make sure you're drinking this. Now, if you come from regions of the world where you can get the most amazing spring water, then drink that, because I'm sure it's loaded up with great minerals as long as it's pure and it's clean and there's no pollutants or toxins in it. Fasting. Now, fasting is a great one, especially if you're either not eating at all or you're doing a liquid fast where you're drinking things like bone broth. You know, one of my daughters, Alexandria, had issues where if she would eat certain foods, it would make her feel bad and her stomach would hurt. And you're starting to think once again, hey, I can't eat certain things because they're like an enemy of my body. But right after Thanksgiving, I made literally 5 gallons of turkey soup. You know, I had a couple of turkey carcasses I used, and we made bone broth out of it. Then I added the vegetables to it and so on. And I made some really, really good turkey soup. And like I said, I made about 5 gallons of it. And so she's been eating it for about a week or so. And I said, how's your stomach been? And she said, it's been great, actually. It's been great because you're eating bone broth, and bone broth is really great for your intestines. So if you're struggling with intestinal problems, give your body a break. Either go into a fast, not eat it all, don't digest, give your body a break there, or do a liquid fast where you're having bone broth and do things like that. So that's a great thing you can do. I highly recommend to my patients doing a bone broth fast. So sometimes people think, well, I can only do a fast, which means I don't eat. Well, no, you could do a fast of anything you want. You could do a no eating fast. You could do a dry fast. You could do a water fast. You could do a bone broth fast. I've heard of people doing MCT oil fasts. You could fast on whatever you want. Just know that that's the only food you're eating. So bone broth is it. Last but not least is exercise. Now, exercise has been proven to help with intestinal motility, okay? You're moving things through better. So exercise is great for that. So that way things aren't sitting there too long and fermenting and getting all kind of rotten. So help increase your intestinal motility by moving. The problem is we're not moving very much. We sit at computers all day long, and when you're sitting, a lot of times, we talked about this on past videos, you're packing the lower discs together, so the vertebrae are packing, it's affecting the nerves, and those nerves come out and control your organs and control your intestines. The next thing you know, your intestines aren't moving, you're getting constipated and so on. A lot of times I recommend a patient just start working out. Now I can adjust them for that. I can adjust the nerves in their low back that can actually help get their intestines moving, but also a lot of times just start working out, exercise, start moving, get everything moving, and that'll help with it too. So anyway, I hope you learned a lot from this. I hope you got a lot of information out of it, because I want to make sure that you heal up, that you can enjoy food again, and you can enjoy your life again. I want you to get your life back. So take these tips, avoid and eliminate the ones I talked about, and add these in, and let me know what it does for you. Give me some comments down below. Let me know what some of these tips did for you. And I'd love to hear from you. So I love hearing from you guys anyway. I get such great comments. But hey, check out my other videos, the ones you should be seeing pop up over here. They'll be good also. But anyway, this is Dr. Nick. I love and appreciate you. Have an amazing day. God bless. And once again, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click that little bell notification. And I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.